Okay, we're just past 11 o'clock. I think we should make a start. So welcome to track S21, Standards and Certification EUCC. So we'll start this session with Sabrina Resch from BSI. Yeah, go ahead.
Test? Okay. Okay. Yes, welcome everybody. And today I would like to tell you a bit about the implementation of the EUCC, particularly from the perspective of a certification body for software products. And yeah, I'm the head of the division for CC certifications for software products. And yeah. Okay. And yeah, if we take a look at the end of my presentation, I want you to know that we as BSI want to ensure high quality trust and CC certification by making the processes efficient and practical. And we want to make sure that you are able to get a certificate for software products with AVAVAN level 4 and 5. And yeah, with this outlook, I want to focus my presentation on the near future. And yes, we had challenges over the past 2 years, and especially in the last few months. And I assume just like you, every certification body, every ITSEF, and every manufacturer has the same challenges to solve. And yeah, I want you to tell something about our challenges, and I guess, yeah, that we all had maybe the same problems, challenges. And yeah, I also would like to pay tribute to the past few decades, and also about the achievements we made. And yeah, I also would like to tell about our vision. And yesterday you've heard a lot from my colleagues. And also I want to address the most important challenges, and also which we want we intend to tackle. And yeah, based on this, I would like to present yeah, our activities planned for this year, and which we want to promote. So if you share our ambitions, and if you would like to discuss them with us, so feel free to get in touch with me, my colleagues, and yeah. So here you can see our challenges over the past 2 years. So yeah, in this time, there was a parallel operation of the national and the European scheme. So we had to prepare the new EUCC scheme, and we had to continue our national German scheme under the SOGIS MRA. And as you know, that was a big deal. And yeah, all in all, the circumstances has changed, responsibilities have changed, new player entered the game, for example, the NCCA, the private CBs, and yeah, new internal processes has to be developed and put in place, and yeah, that cost a lot of staff. And yeah, at the same time, we were very active in supporting the transition at international level, and yeah, all this meant that we have focus less on technical issues and more on operational, organizational matters. And now we want to change this, and yeah, I hope you want to go with us this way. When you see on the left side, we have changed our process with regard to the IT thefts in Germany and our national scheme. IT thefts were approved by BSI, and now under EUCC, the IT thefts has to be accredited by the accreditation body and authorized by the NCCA if they have the competence to perform evaluations under the assurance level high. We had also to make strategic decisions. So we, as BSI, decided to no longer offer any substantial certification procedures. This privilege now lies entirely with private CBs in Germany. And we are only the certification body for assurance level high. We have also decided to work with other IT thefts together to improve our performance, to improve cybersecurity, but we've also decided to not carry out any new authorization when a foreign IT theft want to work with us. And our way instead is to perform pilot evaluations with new IT thefts to see each other, how we work together, which requirements we had. And all in all, we had make a lot of decisions, and there was a lot of change in the last 2 years, and we had to handle these challenges, and I assume that most of you can emphasize with us. So I would also talk about our involvement in the transition from the SOGA-IS to EUCC, and also the achievements made. And Philippe talked about some of these topics. So I just want to give you a short overview. We were involved in the TG maintenance, which deals with the realization of the implementation of the EUCC. So this means the transition of the existing SOGIS structures to the EUCC structure. So the ESM is taking the role over from the Joint Interpretation Working Group. The ISAC was built, and where we are also involved to transfer relevant documents from SOGIS into the state-of-the-art documents for EUCC, and Philippe also mentioned it in his presentation. We played a leading role in the preparation of the following documents: the security evaluation and certification of qualified electronic signatures, seal creation devices, and also the STAR methodology. And all in all, we've met our contribution in various ways, but above all through active involvement by writing or commenting the documents, so that nothing was lost in terms of the content. And as Philippe already said, the ESM is now fully operational and has established itself. He talked about tomorrow, and so there all these steps were very important for the implementation of the EUCC, and we were part of this. So, as I said, I also would like to pay tribute for the old scheme, sogar S, and yeah, one month after the old scheme was replaced by the new scheme, EUCC, I just want to remember the old scheme. And yeah, now, as you can see, it's in retirement, symbolized by the rocking chair. And yeah, after 13 years, Doge's mutual recognition arrangement has come to an end. It also means that the national German scheme came to an end, and in general, all separated national schemes under Soges IS are now united under the EUCC scheme. And yeah, the basis for this for EUCC was the Soges mutual recognition agreement. And yeah, if you look at the right picture, you see yeah, a green field with sunshine and arrow with a new chapter. And yeah, I guess we can change. We can improve the CC certification, and we want to be a part of it. Yeah, and since the 27th February, only EUCC scheme is available, so you can only get EUCC certificates. And yeah, mutual recognition of certificates in all EU member states. And yeah, to be a bit melancholic, we also lost freedoms that we used to have before, and this one I show you on the next slide. So here you can see on the left side our products. We used to certify in our old scheme, but yeah, now under the EUCC scheme, there's a change. Mutual recognition means that exceptions are necessary to certify these products because they are not integrated in technical domains. And yeah, this is an issue that I want to address, and we want to focus on it. Yeah. Actually, we got an exception for the evaluation of these three toe types, but as Philippe also said, currently you have the option to fill out the questionnaire regarding the TD software, so feel free to fill out this questionnaire. And yeah, we also see further topics we want to address, and yeah, these are our pain points, and yeah, the main is to accelerate and simplify the processes to fulfill industry needs, but without losing quality in the sense of creating efficiency, and without losing the strong security statement. And we as BSI, we want to address the industry requirements, especially in the sense of the software certifications. For example, as Fabian has talked yesterday, upgradability or applications in the cloud, so that CC certification become more attractive again for the manufacturers and also for the regulators. And yeah, we also see a necessity of expansion of certification procedures. As Ingo said yesterday, we see a gap between recertification and maintenance, and we want to address it. And yeah, last but not least, we want to establish technical domain software to address software evaluations at EVAVEN 4 and 5 level. Genau. Here you can see our roadmap for enabling product certifications at assurance level high for software products. And as I mentioned before, we get an exception for the evaluation of the previous 3 tow types, which are conformant to the specific protection profiles required by the German laws. And in the medium term, we want to update the protection profiles with associated evaluation methodologies regarding CC 2022, and we want to get these PPs in the Annex 2 of the implementation regulation. So for medium term, we are able to certify these products, and in parallel, we also prepare the technical domain so that we are able to certify these products at assurance level high, and we want also to be able to certify each kind of software products with assurance level high, also ST only. So yeah, these are our activities regarding the software, TD software, and yeah, when we are looking ahead, we want to address we want to address also that yeah, the CC certification is more attractive again for the manufacturers and the regulators. So we have a clear understanding of where we want to go, so what is important for us and what inspires us in our activities. And we have a customer focus, not only for our internal processes, like reducing the lead time in certification procedures or transparency in our certification processes, but also in relation to our professional focus. Yeah, so on this slide, you can see our activities we want to address and promote. And yeah, as I mentioned before, so for my division is we want to establish a technical domain software, and our focus will be the evaluation of software products with EVAVEN level 4 and 5. And yeah, we also want to ensure that certified products could be updated, and yeah, this is a circumstance should not be affected the validity of the certificate. So here yesterday, my colleague Michael told you about this topic, and yeah, we also want to address AI and cloud certifications, and yeah, as I said before, harmonization in the site certification is also a big topic for us, and we also want expansion of certification procedures, because we see a gap between recertification and maintenance. And yeah, as Ingo said yesterday, we want to develop the CC further. And yeah, when we look at our organizational focus for this year, you can see we want to cooperate with the new players in the game, so we want to cooperate with the foreign IT staffs. We also want to cooperate with private CBs. Especially, we want to enhance the quality of the certificates in Germany, and we want also to increase the number of IT staff so that the manufacturers and the applicant have the chance to choose the IT staffs next to them, and yeah, we just want to strengthen the cyber security with these corporations. And so if you want to work with us, feel free to contact me, my colleagues, and yeah, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sabrina. So we do have time for questions.
Thanks, Sabrina, for your presentation. Insightful to see the roadmap of BSI. Thank you very much for that. I had one question. So you mentioned that you were targeting the evaluation methodology in the PP in the medium term. So why not stop at that? Why go for a software technical domain?
Yes, it's the medium term because I don't know the timeline, but I can guess that establish the TD software take time, and yeah, I don't know how to realize. But yeah, so we want to be able to certify these products, and yeah, this is our way to handle it.
Practicality first, and then see what the future brings.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions? No, I think that's it. Thank you very much, Sabrina.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I think we'll get started again and keep to time. So this is Mark Le Guin with his Beyond Common Criteria presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyrone. Yeah, welcome everyone to my talk. My name is Mark Le Guin. I'm the head of the IT staff, TÜV IT, based in Germany, and I'm gonna talk a bit about common criteria and especially what we can learn about common criteria, about the EU's interpretation or framework around the common criteria in light of emerging cyber regulations. So if we do take a look at the agenda, I'm gonna introduce you, or probably in the later half of this conference here, reintroduce you to the CRA. You probably have seen the one or the other slide in the last 24 hours on that. So I keep that very short, and I'm also gonna present in a nutshell what the EUDI is about. Since this is not a common criteria conference, I'm also gonna introduce you to what that common criteria thing is and what the two letters, the E and the U, add on top of it. And then we're gonna try to blend these two items, right? And to see where can EUCC help us to solve challenges the CRA and the EUDI brings to the table, and frankly, where likely not. Okay, so CRA, you probably have already heard in the last 24 hours that the Cyber Resilience Act is the EU's plan to make digital products more secure, more resilient towards cybersecurity threats. And when they talk about products, they pretty much mean each and every product that you can imagine, that you can associate with the buzzword being smart. So it can be a baby monitor, it can be a smartwatch, but it can also be pure software, like an app that you download on your phone or software that you install on your personal computer. Basically anything that is hardware or software and is kind of connected. So I always have a hard time to find something that is not affected by the CRA. One of the examples that come to my mind is a smoke detector that you might have in your hotel room that has literally one physical button to test if the battery is empty or not. But as soon as that's connected to your home IoT system, like via Bluetooth, Zigbee, Wi-Fi, so that it can spread alerts once it detects smoke, it's CRA affected. So the applicability of the CRA is really broad, really broad. And what does it bring to the table? It's a common rule book on how to design, but also on how to maintain products if you want to place them on the European market. And that's really a game changer related to a lot of other directives. It's a requirement to be CRA compliant. Otherwise, you must not put products on the market, or there won't be fun in the end. The Cyber Resilience Act also acknowledges that not every product is as crucial for our IT security in daily life. They define different categories. They start with something they call critical products. And critical products, I think the name is quite a good fit. That would be products like security backbones for our daily life. That's the security anchors, the hardware roots of trust, where all the IT systems are basically based on. It's the pillars for our security. So I think critical, yeah, good name. With the next name, I do struggle a little bit. Yeah, there are products that are important, not yet critical. I think it's kind of funny that they decided, okay, important products, there are products that are important, but more important than others, and they had obviously trouble to come up with names for it. So they defined it as Class 2 and Class 1 important products. If you're looking for examples, so Class 1 product might be something like a password manager, where it's clearly not convenient if your passwords are leaked by a hack. So yeah, that has some implications. It's obviously an important security tool, but it might not be as dangerous as if a hypervisor is hacked, which would be a represent for the products in Class 2. So just remember, Class 2 is closer to the critical, Class 1 is closer to anything else, and I think, if I'm correct here, the CRA doesn't even have a name for the anything else. It's just, you're either in critical, you're important Class 1 or Class 2, or you're something else. For the sake of my presentation, I will call that the default class. And if you just randomly pick products from the European market that are with digital elements, the chance that you grab a product that belongs to the default category, it's quite high. So depending on which statistics you trust, it might be 80% chance, might be 85, some even say 90% of the products that we have on the European market fall into that default class, the class without a name. Let's take a quick break, change topics, and look at what the EUDI is. The EUDI is European Union's answer to address the challenges that come with digital identification in a digital world. So they're gonna spread out a ecosystem. It's really an entire ecosystem that is clearly designed to enhance fraud prevention. It shall also empower each citizen of the European Union to clearly choose which part of the identity you want to expose to a relying party. An example that I have here, imagine you want to watch a movie in a theater and you like bloody horror movies and you can only watch them if you're 21 or older. How does it work nowadays? You go to the cashier and he's looking like you and like, I'm not sure, can I see your passport if you're 21? I would be happy if they would be asking me, but. So I hand over the passport and what kind of information do I expose? They have my name, they have my address, and they are challenged with a mathematical operation, my date of birth and today's date, and then make a computation if I'm 21 or older. Actually, that cashier is not interested in all that, and I don't have interest of exposing my private address. What for, right? So the EUDI shall solve that and ask precise questions, and you as a citizen can say, yes, please sign in a reliable manner, in a verifiable manner, I am older than 21 years old, because that's the only information that guy is interested, right? So, and that's envisioned that the European Union establishes that system in the next few years as a common European system, a common European ecosystem. In the meantime, we also heard it in the keynote that Thomas Kaspers gave to kick off this event here. The different member states, are working on a, say, national scheme that shall be introduced. The timelines are pretty much all identical, somewhere end of this year, start of next year. So they're gonna be local implementation of the overall framework that midterm, hopefully, is gonna harmonize and condense. If you're a bit more interested in how the EUDI ecosystem is structured, I recommend to open the browser of your trust, use the search engine of your trust, and type in EUDI ARF. ARF stands for Architecture and Reference Framework. It will lead you to a Git repository. Just make sure you browse to the very top of the page on the left-hand side. There's various versions that you can select. I think latest is version 2.8. It's kind of an evolving specification, so make sure you look at the latest, greatest, and not outdated. You will find all kind of standards, protocols, data exchange formats in there that are specified. You will also find a list of what is yet to be specified, so I like that transparency. It's not a 100% specification now, but it's getting closer. And the ecosystem, I depicted that on the right-hand side of the screen. So obviously you have the user, the citizen. He's gonna have access to a handheld device. It might actually also be a computer, but I think it is easier to imagine your smartphone. That's gonna run an application that's coming from a wallet provider via a Play Store, a Dock Store, you name it. And it can expose signed data, authenticated data to a relying party. That's that poor cashier guy in my cinema example. How does the information get onto the device? So how does my digital twin, my personal identification data get personalized onto the device? Well, that's pretty much the left-hand side. That's the attestation providers, the PID providers, and all those that make sure that it's really my identity and not someone else's identity because I'm older. I'm not older than 21, but I still want to sneak into the movie. Once this data is personalized, stored on your device, you always have to ask the question, where do you want that to be stored? Do you want that to be stored just as some application data in your iOS, in your Android app? From a security point of view, I don't like that too much. So typically you're trying to push that to a more secure enclave. It might be embedded somewhere in the OS. It might also be a dedicated secure enclave, like in an eSIM card. For some schemes, they're looking for an external SIM card, like your passport that you probably already possess. Other infrastructures imagine that the data is actually not stored locally, but remotely inside a hardware security module that resides somewhere in a data center remote, right? So that's pretty much the key ingredients that you have in the overall ecosystem, and as I said, all the dirty details, they are almost all in that ARF. Excuse me. Those two ecosystems, those two frameworks have one missing piece in common, and that is an answer to the question, how high do I need to jump from a cybersecurity perspective? So depending on what service, what component, which system I developed, I want to put on the market, when am I sure it is secure enough? Because let's not fool ourselves, security is never perfect. Even if we did EAL7, AVA1.5 common criteria evaluation, it's safe today. If it's safe tomorrow, we don't know. It's not physics. Our physics in IT security is a moving target, right? So how can we demonstrate, can we assess sufficient cyber resilience? And, well, I'm heading in common criteria lab, so obviously I'm asking myself the question, can that help? So I will really quickly tell you about common criteria with three key takeaways that you should keep in mind whenever anyone's asking you for a test that we are writing at the end of this presentation. No, just kidding. And then we'll see if that will really help us for CRA. So, common criteria on one slide. I'm not going to embarrass you by asking whoever opened up all 5 PDF documents of the common criteria and browsed to pretty much the very last page, so probably page 1,500 or so, you would have seen that table. And 3 key takeaways I want you to remember. First of all, common criteria is kind of scalable. You have these EAL levels, it stands for Evaluation Assurance Level, and it scales from 1 to 7. It basically expresses how rigorous the evaluation was. So for an EAL1, it is pretty much, yeah, an evaluator, they looked at the product by night, it figured out probably there's a fence, we don't know if it's shaky, maybe it even has a hole. I'm hopefully exaggerating, but it was a look from pretty much far away. On the other hand, the closer you would get to that artificial level of EAL7, you can say, yeah, they assessed it like it's a high security prison. Nothing must go in, nothing must go out. It's fully blocked both directions. The second key takeaway I would like you to remember is if we look into the middle part, if you look at it like a matrix consisting of several columns, and we look at the first column corresponding to that EAL1, you see it's pretty sparse, right? 50% of the cells are kind of ticked, the others are empty, so there's just no action associated with the empty cells. And even for those that are ticked, you see a 1, so it's kind of a rookie level to do something, right? Really getting started. The further you move to the right-hand side, you see it getting more and more dense, so there is more things to do. And you also see the numbers are increasing. That means you did something on a level 1, but level 2 is to go an extra step, level 3 is to go an extra step, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of a rigorous assessment. And the rigorousness of the assessment is basically you're trying to weaponize an evaluator so they can really take a deep, deep look on what they're assessing. For an EL1, all information I as an evaluator get is basically information that you anyhow have available, that your customers would be asking for. Like a 2-page flyer on what the product is about and what it's supposed to do. A user manual to be able to talk to the thing at all, right? The further you move to the right-hand side, we're gonna really try to pick your brains on what kind of threats did you envision, what kind of attack vectors did you think about, and what are your countermeasures that you implemented? Because as an evaluator, naturally, I'm trying to bypass your thought paths, finding a hole in your security mesh and exploit it. And exploitation is basically the fun part at the very bottom. So especially the AVA-VAN, you have probably seen that on a couple of slides already in this conference. That's the vulnerability analysis. And this kind of proportionally scales with the EL 1 to 7. We don't have 1 to 7, we only have 1 to 5, so we are simplifying that a bit here. But that's really the fun part of penetration testing. And why does it scale? Well, it's reflecting two things. First, if you go for an AVA-VAN 1 component, so on the left-hand side, it is more a black box. You maybe not even be able to choose the inputs that you provide to your victim, and you can observe the outputs, but it's really like opaque, right? The more you move to the right-hand side, you have way more information on how your inputs that you can select are processed. You know every byte, every bit, how it's basically flowing and processed by the source code. So it's a pure white box analysis and obviously way more powerful to stimulate potentially weak code. And it also reflects the attacker's powers. So is it a kindergarten kid who got just for Christmas or for Easter his first laptop and he's trying to hack and whack a product for fun? Or are we talking about a professional hacker with significant access to resources, someone who did a PhD in computer science, 4 firewalls, and has really good equipment and try to hack and whack a product? Obviously, different threat vector. Okay, what's the EU adding on top the common criteria? The first thing I want you to remember is it's the same criteria. So the criteria in criteria is the same criteria. There's no change. If a product it passes an evaluation according to common criteria, it passes an evaluation according to the European Union's common criteria. It's the same criteria, no change. What does it add on top is a legal framework. And they are trying to answering some questions. Earlier we heard in the previous speaker, she said we lost some degrees of freedom. I would call it we got some clarifications, right? For example, who is allowed to issue a certificate? Everyone, spoiler, There's some requirements that you need to take to become a certification body, to be authorized to issue certificates. That's part of the EU in the EUCC, right? that rule set. Also, they thought about, okay, how does a user of a product, how can they identify that it is a common criteria certified or certified for fun and purpose by a random person? Well, they designed basically the logo that is depicted on the right-hand side here. So I like that common criteria with that semiconductor symbol. At least that's my interpretation of what it is. You will see a QR code that you can scan with your smartphone, and it will lead you to some website with a bit more information on what exactly has been assessed. Some dirty details about the process, obviously. And in the middle column, I want to put your attention on that. There is 3 levels. They call it high, substantial, and basic. They kind of refer to the AV-AVAN levels. If you remember, we had 5 of them for 7 EALs. Here we are down to 3, and we'll see that this results in maybe a gap later on. Okay, let's try to overlap these 2 things and see what kind of challenges we have and can we solve them and where we cannot solve them. I want to start with the EUDI. So first thing that we need to remember is that CC and EUCC, consequently as well, is designed to assess the security of a component. It is not designed, it never was designed to assess the security of a complex system or of a service, of a management procedure. That's not the use case. It simply isn't. If you're asking me what's the difference between a system and a component, just think about a component could be a firewall. A system might be an entire corporate network full of firewalls with different rule sets, switches, managed routers that all need to interact together, work together. Otherwise, yeah, you can't operate as a business. Systems, that's not what common criteria is made for. On the other way around, if we look at EUDI, common criteria fits quite nicely on a few items. I start with the wallet unit, so that was the roots of trust. I said sometimes embedded inside the phone, more often in smart card, internal or external smart card, or in HSM. These products are mainly already common criteria certified, so obviously that works and is a decent fit. You can also look into the applications that you're running on the phone. More often than not, you do not assess the full operating systems because they are really complex beasts, but you're focusing on some security properties like separation of a secure enclave from the rest of the world where you download your how is it called, the candy games, right? You want to keep that out of your passport data. So you're looking at the separation mechanism. And here common criteria can help. It can also help to assess the security or to detect the insecurity of the interfaces that you need to present to the external world in order so that the relying parties can communicate with you, securely communicate with you. Let's look at the CRA. For the CRA, you need to understand that there is so-called essential security requirements, and you can split that into 2 parts. Part 1 is about the properties a particular product needs to fulfill. We already mentioned security by design. There is other things like they need to implement mechanisms for access control so that only legitimate users can utilize the products. They need to implement mechanisms to assure data confidentiality and integrity. And no, I'm not gonna do a mapping how common criteria can help you with, otherwise, see you in 24 hours. That won't work, and it's not a one-to-one mapping either. It's really a complex job, and I think ENISA did a very decent study on how common criteria can help, but just as a rule of thumb, and it's really a rule of thumb here, it's not black and white. For part 1, yeah, common criteria will be able to solve a lot of the issues. Not all, not claiming that, but a lot of them. For part 2, yeah, probably even more vice versa, vulnerability handling requirements. So what do you need to do after a product is put on the market? Maybe even common criteria certified, you put it on the market, but what do you need to do to maintain the security of the product? One example where common criteria just can't help you is free of charge updates. Well, if I inspect the source code, I don't see if you need to purchase the source code or if you got it for free. You can't take a look at the product to see if it was for free. That just doesn't match. There are some aspects where you can make an argument, but I don't want to get into a philosophical discussion today. Yes, you can do regular tests with common criteria. That kind of makes sense. You can also, to some extent, assess third-party components. And also for the part 1, to assess data minimalization requirements with common criteria, that's probably going to be more artificial, a bit more bumpy. So just take that as a rule of thumb categorization. Another issue that we have when we try to use common criteria to solve a CRA issue is we have these AVA-VAN levels from 1 to 5, and per definition, even the lowest number, the AVA-VAN 1, already fulfills or already falls in that substantial category. For the CRA, we learned we have 4 categories: the default, the too important, and the critical. So it's different names, and we have 3 levels here, so it's 4 to 3. So obviously, it's not a bijective one-to-one mapping. But I feel it would be kind of weird if not at least the majority of the default products are kind on the basic level, right? And we see common criteria starts at a higher level. It starts at a substantial level. It doesn't even address the basics. So something is missing here. So we need something like an AVA-VAN 0 or -1. I don't know. So you see there is some kind of gap, especially remembering at least 80, maybe even 90% of the products that you can randomly grab from the market are default, aka basic products. There's a clear gap here, so we need something else. Okay, on my final 2 slides, or 3 slides it is, I want to take a look at where we are in establishing a CRA ecosystem. I found that figure on the website of the Federal Office for Information Security. So it kind of depicts the timeline with a target date of the 11th of December 2027, when all products that are entering the European market need to be CRA compliant, or they should not enter the market. They must not enter the market. So right now we are in the middle of the game here. The CRA has entered in the force, and that started 11 December 2024. And I think it's good news that we gave ourselves an 18-month time before the next step. The next step is that CABs, certification assessment bodies, can apply to become a certification body. So we are not there. So right now, no one can help you as a developer to give you a clear feedback, are you CRA compliant or not? There is no process to become a certification assessment body, so there can't be any assessment bodies, so no one can give you that answer. It's just not there. But we're getting close to it, and first information, I would say, is out for public comments. Further information might have leaked, so I think we are on a good way here. What scares me, to be very frank, is if I look at the next 3 steps, because that's only 6 months from June. Anyone here having experience with getting accreditation notification from application to be granted? 6 months, cool. It's gonna be challenging. There will be a lot of stress for a lot of us. I don't know if that will turn out to be reality. Probably we're gonna slip into 2027. So I definitely see a clear risk here. And how can EUCC help to mitigate that risk? You might have seen the Nando portal from the European Commission. I would like to tell you what Nando is. I can't remember the abbreviation, actually. It's basically a portal where you can query all notified bodies for different legislative acts. And if you do that for the EUCC, you'll find 32 hits. From Philip Law today, I learned that it's a 2012 split in terms of IT CEFs that you see here, and 12 CBs. So probably not all of these 32 entities would have the requirements to be a conformity assessment for the CRA. But again, remember, this is for common criteria starting at a substantial level. So why should they not be competent enough to tackle a basic level or help the industry with a basic level? That kind of feels odd as well. So don't pinpoint me on the 32. Don't pinpoint me on the 12 that Philippe had on his slide. Probably truth is somewhere in the middle. and I keep it as vague as is, but I really want to make the point, some of these should be kind of pre-qualified. Also, let's remember, EUCC already walked the distance. So I talked to Philip Lowe like 2 years ago, and he was saying like something like, yeah, we all thought EUCC is going to be a quick one. 4 years later, yeah, we are starting to see the first drafts of the implementing acts. It was a bumpy road, a whale of tears, I would call it. And there was a lot of learnings, and my request, I think that's the best word I have for it, is really let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's help out our cavemen to not need to do that. Let's look at what we already learned from the EUCC. There's a whole bunch of state-of-the-art documents on the ENISA website. Let's try to reuse as much as that's already there. They did a huge emphasis on how to assess competences of testers, of auditors, and all that, how to manage competences, because competence management is not easy. There was discussion for 3+ years on that. So let's not waste that. Let's reuse it and use it as a basis for assessing conformity assessment bodies for the CRA. Because if we lose that performance, we will not have caps by end of this year. That means the industry will not have anyone to talk to get to become CRA compliant. And that's my final slide. I'm happy to take any questions if you have.
Okay, so we have time for a couple of questions, I think, probably.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael Meisner. I'm a certifier for Common Criteria. You're the head of a Common Criteria lab, so Common Criteria is maybe kind of a passion for us. I'd like to ask a question in this respect. Before that, if you allow, and if you, Tyrone, allow, I would like to make a short annotation, because you quoted my boss, Sabrina, with we lost a few degrees of freedom, and you said, no, we gained some clearance. And I would like to add also, with losing some degrees of freedom, I think this is maybe we can get over with in our, self-confidence, even if we lose some responsibilities that we used to have. But the threat is, and I think we should all work on that, is that with losing some freedom, we'll have to, get some decision-making to a higher level. And I worry that we might lose perhaps also some time. And time is of the essence. Otherwise, we'll lose an advantage of Common Criteria. So I think we can just keep that in mind. And I will come to my question. How can I phrase it without annoying anybody here? Yeah, just
explain it's not political.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so you said that. Yeah, actually, you confirmed my impression that I have the common criteria for all my life that I have, or for all my time that I have been a certifier, is that common criteria thrives for the maximum of IT security. There might be, manufacturers who just try to achieve the bare minimum of security as, required by the CRA. Do you think, Helleguin, that common criteria might get competition from other schemes? After all, I have heard a lot about EUCC here in the last few days. I didn't hear much about, let's say, EU NISAs or EU FITSEM or EU CSIP or, this kind of alternatives.
So I do not fear that there is competition. On the contrary, I want to encourage competition because clearly we have missing pieces in the puzzle. When I'm saying we need something like an AVA 1.0, probably that's not the right solution, but it might be more of a, I hate the word of a lightweight scheme, but more what you just called FITSEM, fixed time box analysis. I think that can really relieve a lot of pain points. The more you talk to people in the last couple of years, everyone knows FITSEM will come sooner or later. Yes. I've never seen a timeline yet. I would love to see a timeline because I really think that will help. And FITSEM, if we're looking into the local scheme, BSI has BSET, yes. Spain has LINCE. So it's already there. Why don't we now really make a quick win for FITSEM and try to harmonize it and have something that can address the basic to start of substantial level instead of picking up at the substantial level and trying to be the king of the pops.
True, thank you very much. I just say that for political reasons. I think our all goal is IT security. And no matter which scheme or which criteria we use, IT security is the main goal. But, you know, common criteria is my emotional goal, so to say. So, but you are right, there should be no competition. And I think we are all working towards the, higher goal.
And competition keeps you honest. That's true.
That's true. Thank you very much. And apologizes to everybody here who is a fighter for FITSEM.
Okay, I think maybe Mark can take questions at lunchtime. So let's make some progress to the next speaker. Thank you very much, Mark. So we finish off this morning's session with Maurice, and happily, after all the discussions we've been having all week, he's going to tell us it's all fine. So thank you, Maurice.
So good morning. I'm going to give a presentation about the meaningfulness of security certification, or actually the question of is it meaningful or not, and how do we keep it that way. So I'll start with a brief introduction. After that, give a bit of an explanation about how EUCC works in the Netherlands, a bit of an explanation about security targets and scoping. Then we will get into what I mean with is it meaningful or not, a couple of examples, some time for questions, and then after that, of course, the most important part of the presentation, that's going to lunch. So, introduction, who is this guy? I'm Maurice. I'm an expert at the Dutch NCCA. I've been working with common criteria for about 13 years now. Studied information security technology a long time ago, so a lot has changed since then, but I do have a bit of the background, and I enjoy hacking and pen testing as a hobby, so that also ties into the testing that we do. EUCC in the Netherlands, so this is the building where the Dutch NCCA is vested. It's in Amersfoort. So the Dutch NCCA has a different approach than most of the NCCAs in the EU. We go with the prior approval approach. That's explained a bit here. So in the EU scheme, you have two different ways of doing certifications. You can do the prior approval approach, which is what we do, or you can do the post-approval, where basically you have an entire project with evaluation work, and at the end, a report gets sent to the CB. The CB gives a certificate, and then the NCCA basically approves the certificate afterwards. We have a different approach. So we have an approval of an assessment plan, where we go through, the CB comes to us and says, well, we have this project that we want to certify. Is that okay? We look into the product. We check to see what is going to be certified. We check to see if there's any fundamental issues that are potentially wrong with the certification. And at that point, we give an approval that they can proceed with the evaluation work. At that point, the lab and the CB start cooperating to do the evaluation. So in our scheme, we have basically a system where we monitor that activity. We do that by doing 3 meetings. During these meetings, we check to make sure that the progress of the project is proceeding as proper, as expected, but also that specific milestones in the project are going as expected. So if we see that, for example, the security target evaluation has some dubious qualities, we can flag it at that point. Then the ITSEF and the CB can work together to get that fixed before we have to basically reject the evaluation at the end of the project. So this helps us with a faster evaluation cycle, in the sense that flaws are detected much earlier and we can more quickly adjust and complete the certification as the customer would like to see it. That also helps to reduce the risks for the final part of the evaluation cycle. So the last phase is the prior approval aspect. Basically, the CB comes to us and says, okay, we finished the entire process, we now have a certificate. Is it okay if we issue this? We check the certificate, we check the report that was published by the ITSEF, we check to make sure that everything is okay. And at that point, for us, it's mostly just a checkbox like, okay, we monitored everything during the process, so we know what was happening, what was going on. And at that point, we can much more quickly just establish that the certificate is okay, approve it, and then it gets issued. So this is all based on a number of different rules and regulations, legislation, of course the CSA Act, the implementing regulation. And in that act, there's section 7.1 and 15.1, so the only difference between the two is that one refers to the product and one to the protection profile, but I merged them here for brevity. So the first part is basically that says that a product submitted for certification has a specific level of risk associated with the intended use. So this is a bit subjective, it's interpretable. From that, we understand that a product that is intended for a high-risk scenario should also be evaluated at that level. So if a product comes to us for certification, we see, oh, this is a passport-type product, but they're only trying to claim EUCC substantial, then we're like, is this the right combination to do? Do we want to certify this product? Would that lead to a meaningful certificate? We have our questions. Typically, we tell the scheme to go back and they say, this is probably not the right combination. Let's look at that again. The second part of this regulation says that the security functions that support the security objectives set out in Article 51, so that should be support of each other. This can be interpreted in a different number of ways. The first one would be that every product has to meet every single objective that's in Article 51, which is quite a comprehensive list. That's not really reasonable, so we're like, okay, probably that's not the right interpretation. The one that we generally go with is that the security functionality that's certified for a specific product, it should be what the customer at the end expects the product to be. So if you have a product that's certified I'll have a couple of examples in a few minutes, but if you get a certificate for a product, you would expect that that covers the majority of the product or the bulk of the product. And with EUCC, well CC specifically, the security target allows you to scope what you want to have as part of the evaluation, and that can lead to specific pitfalls that I will cover in the next slides. One aspect that's also to keep in mind here is that, as a number of my colleagues at the conference have already mentioned, is that the CRA is also pointing to EUCC for the presumption of conformity. That also leads to some potential pitfalls, because if you have a certificate that covers only a very small part of a product, and then you use that certificate to say, well, my product is also CRA compliant, that might be a bit too short of an assumption to make. So there's a number of caveats that we need to take into account there. So, as I was mentioning, the security target is really important for this kind of things, because if you do a certification, then the security target is the leading part. The security targets, I'm sure some of you know, maybe others don't. I'll quickly give a brief run through. Basically, it's a document that covers what the product claims in terms of security. It describes the services that the product supports. It defines the TOW's logical and physical boundaries. And it gives you an overview of what the product actually does and what is being certified. So it sets the standard for, like, if you have a certificate, then the certificate only covers what is covered in the security target. That can also mean that if you have a product, that the actual target of evaluation might be smaller than what the complete product entails. So they might say, well, the entire, we're covering the crypto, we're covering the security features, but we're not covering the user interface. Yeah, thank you. So we're not covering the user interface. Yeah. In this case, it's relatively straightforward, but you can also have a product where that TOW becomes much smaller. So if you have, for example, an application running on a server, you might say, well, this entire product is something we ship, but only the application is certified, or only the CPU is certified. And that leads to certification, that the certificate itself might be valid, but for the user, it's not clear what exactly is the goal there. So the conformance claims that a security target covers also match to the different AVA-VAN levels that were covered also in Mark's presentation. So for example, you have an AVA-VAN 4, you want to meet EUCC high. That sets a specific expectation from the user in that, okay, if it's evaluated at a high level, you expect that the assurance that it gives you is about the actual security. And due to the way that security targets can be written, that might not necessarily be true. It will give you assurance about what is covered by the security target, but not about the actual security of the product. And there's a nuance in Yeah, that covers basically what the security target does. Then we get to the meaningfulness aspect. So as I mentioned, the content and the scope of a security target are critical because they really define what is being certified and what are you actually getting assurance about. Is it about the security of the product or is it about what is claimed in the document? So CC allows the developer to define the security target, which means that if you have a really well-willing developer that they are actually putting accurate information in the security target and they're doing their best to give a complete picture. But it could also be that you have a developer that's maybe not as experienced or that has alternative means to get a nice marketing point. They want to get a certificate because, yeah, we can claim it's EL6 and it's awesome, even though the actual security of the product might not be as good as some of the competitors. So depending on what is written in the security target, it might be nuanced to a way that if you really read carefully, you see that it's not really as nice as they want to portray. But yeah, due to the way that it's scoped, it might be put out of the picture for the evaluation. There's also a common misconception. So the EUCC certificate itself does not explicitly prove that a product is secure. So it shows that a product meets the assurance requirements that are listed in the security target. So if you have a security target that has only one requirement, and you do that at an EL7 plus evaluation, for example, you can prove that that one requirement is met perfectly, but that one requirement does not cover all of the security implications that your product might have. So the certificate says, well, that one requirement is met really well, but all the rest of the security, it's out of scope, so we cannot say anything about that aspect. So there's two things that you can do to align that. One is have the CBs and the ITSEFs really focus on making sure that every security target is really well defined. Or you can go to, for example, a protection profile, which gives you a standardized way of making sure that all similar products all have similar requirements so that you can really compare between products and they all have a even playing field. So as I mentioned, PPs are one way of doing this. There's a nice aspect of EUCC in that if you are evaluating Avevent 4 or 5, that you then have to either have your product be part of a technical domain or you have to meet a protection profile that's in the state-of-the-art PPs list. Currently, there's no PPs in that list yet. We're working on adding PPs to the list. But that allows you to, at least at these levels, make sure that products have, to some extent, a meaningful interpretation. But that does not hold for the substantial or the Avevent 3 certifications. There, basically, as long as there's a security target that makes sense and meets the requirements of CC, then you can certify it according to that ST. And that might mean that your product is certified, it's a valid certificate, but the end user doesn't really get helped by the content of it. So also the technical domains in the PPs are defined by the collaborations of the working groups, which are made of people like you guys. So by all means, if you have ideas about what should be in a PP, please join the working groups, because we need more support on that front. So now we're going to go into some examples. I know it's almost lunchtime, so you're all sitting here like, oh, I want to go to lunch. But maybe we can get a bit of interactivity. I have an example, and then I will ask a question. And if you think that this is something that would lead to a meaningful certificate, like that's something that you would actually like to see in the field, just raise your hand. If you think, well, this is something that's useless or potentially not as correct as you would like to see it, then just keep your hand down. All these examples are also just really examples. There's no customers intended. It's really just as an example. Anything that looks like real-world issues is non-intentional. So first we have a multifunctional printer. So this product is going to be certified. The purpose is also to put it into a CRA compliance scheme. So it's a nice multifunctional thing from an unknown vendor. It supports scanning, copying, faxing, printing, A4, A5 paper, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, Bluetooth, etc. So if I give a CC certificate for this thing, most of you would say, yeah, sure. It's meaningful. But suppose that we go to the scenario where the developer decides that only this aspect of the printer is actually in scope. So they say, well, if you're printing, only cover serial interface, only on A4, only in grayscale. All of the other functionality must be disabled. And still, this leads to an officially recognized CC certificate, because the scope is defined in such a way that only that part of the printer is in scope. That part is considered to be completely secure. All the rest is disabled, so you cannot attack it. And it passes certification. How many of you think that this is actually still a meaningful certificate? Raise your hands. Okay. Yeah, that seems like a problem, right? We have a similar example, an IoT camera. So I'm sure that a lot of you have seen these around the house, or maybe that's what you're using to monitor your baby, or maybe it's at the front door. This one has a lot of different interfaces. It has Wi-Fi, it is connected to the internet, so you can use it with your phone. Do you think that this is potentially certifiable? Yeah, if you set the scope right, it should be certifiable. If we set the scopes to something like this, where you disable the Wi-Fi, do not allow it to connect to the internet, do not allow the remote phone connection, and you say, well, basically only if it's directly connected to a specific computer, then the video stream, not the configuration or anything else, but just the video stream is considered secure. This still would be a valid CC certificate. And under CRA, potentially, you say, well, it's an IoT camera that's CC certified, pass. But then if you look in the security target, then you see, oh, well, actually, all of this stuff has to be disabled for it to be able to be certified. Potentially, that seems problematic. Another example, a phone application. So this one is a bit contrived, so bear with me. We have an application that supports accurate time. This is just an application on your phone. It just uses the underlying clock. And the application has all kinds of nice security features embedded in it to make sure that the time that is in the application is accurate. So it cannot be tampered with. You cannot hack the phone and try to modify the time in the application. So basically, the certification would be fine. So there's nothing wrong with the application itself, per se, except that it relies on the underlying clock of the phone itself, which is not certified. So in this case, the problem is not so much with the security target itself or the scope of the evaluation. Well, the scope in a way it is, but the application security is fine. So the certificate that's given for the application is also fine. It's just that the fact that it relies on an underlying clock, so any false time going into the system won't be able to detect, and thus, yeah, it's again questionable, like, well, is this product meaningful? So this gives a little bit of a different type of scenario than the previous ones. It's not so much about the scope itself, but it's much about, like, well, what is actually covered, because if you have a certificate that only focuses on the application, and the rest of the system that's underneath it is untrusted, then can you trust the part that's on top? Then, of course, all of the examples that I've just given are quite simple to understand. In CC and as if you're working for an ITSEF or a CB, you know that these examples are much more complex. So I'll give you a bit of a more complex example. Most of you probably don't understand what's here, which is fine. So this is, for example, a server application where you have an application that's running on a server somewhere. This application is scoped such a way that it has crypto functionality, it has data storage, it has authentication mechanisms, it has user management, it has all kinds of update mechanisms. All of this has security features built in to ensure that this is done securely. But in order to make it more useful for the end user, they also allow you to use external services as an alternative. So you can use the built-in user authentication or the user management systems, but you can also decide to use your Active Directory or your Kerberos server outside. So then it just switches off the local security and functionality and it uses the external parts. Of course, there's also some interdependency. So for example, the local data storage makes use of the crypto module and the crypto module makes use of the storage of the server. So that's expected. You cannot really get around that. But if you certify this product, you will have either a really long list of assumptions, or in most cases you say, they're using Kerberos, it's probably fine. So the certificate most likely gets issued, you have a certified application which meets all of the CC requirements, but then you have an end user that decides, like, I'm going to choose all the remote options because I have the software, but I don't really want to use the onboard mechanisms. I want to use all of the remote mechanisms. So I use Kerberos, I use the Active Directory, I use the online mechanism, and I don't want to use the crypto engine on my server because that thing's actually slow. I want to use this newfangled AI crypto thing because, yeah, it's really cool and it sends everything online and does crypto there. And it's probably, maybe not secure, but yeah, it's fast. So we already established that the certificate that was given for the application was actually fine. But in this case, is this a meaningful certificate? I don't see any hands, but good. So that brings me back to what is meaningfulness. So under common criteria, basically the developer gets a lot of flexibility in how they determine what is in the security target, which is really nice because it gives them the flexibility to choose what they want to certify and what their product wants to cover, and it gives you the flexibility to having a slightly different product than your competitor. But it also means that in this case, you can also maybe, I don't want to say abuse that, but you can misuse it to the point where you can mislead the end user into thinking that something is certified that it's not. It also comes from the fact that security targets are quite technical documents, so they have a lot of information that is written in very technical terms, and very often they don't even have that information. They refer to other architecture documents or other documents that the ITSEF gets to do their testing, but they're not publicly available. And by doing that, they make it much more difficult for the end user to actually understand what is in the certificate. Another aspect is that a tool or a product might rely on aspects of the environment to fulfill their purposes. Like as we saw in the server example, you're relying on Kerberos or on Active Directory, and you assume that this is a secure service, but if you have a illegitimate version of Kerberos or somebody's in your server while you don't expect them to be, that might actually undermine the complete security of your product, while from the product certificate, it seems like, yeah, it's fine. And this leads to other problems. So if this type of certificates get issued, it can also lead to problems with the scheme itself. So either it can lower the standards so that companies start saying, well, oh, I also scope my product in a misleading way because it makes it much more easy for me to get my product certified, and it makes me competitive with my competitors in the market. But it also reduces the faith in what you expect from a certificate. If you say, well, this is a certified product, but the certificate doesn't actually mean anything, then what about the other certificates that are issued by the same scheme? What about the same country? What about the same, anything in the EU? Are certificates valid? Yeah, it raises a lot of questions about, like, well, what's the value of such a certificate? And also considering that the CRA intends to use these certificates for potential presumption of compliance, also there is something that we need to take into account, because if you can issue such a certificate and then also get the CRA compliance, then does the CRA then mean anything anymore? So it's a bit of a, something to keep in mind. Yeah, I think that that covers pretty much my talk. Any questions?
So thank you, Maurice. Yes, so is there any questions just before lunch?
Let me stand. Well, I'm a little bit puzzled concerning your examples here, because, well, I totally understand that some random CC certificate does in no way guarantees that it matches the requirements of CRA. So it is absolutely right that an ST can somehow carve whatever whatever is expected. But I think you say you came into that discussion with the idea that secure is a defined term, but it is not. It is the question, what do I need? And this is very different from different users. And so your router that only works when it's directly connected might be useful for someone. It's the question, what do I expect and what does this product deliver? And I had the feeling that you wanted to stipulate that STs can be misleading. I am well aware that a lot of customers do not read the ST and do not read the guidance. That's a problem, of course. But it is especially when you go through the ASE evaluation, it is a clear mandate for the evaluators to verify that it's not misleading, that every piece of text is finally matches the SFRs. And so when we go to examples where at the end the device doesn't do anything anymore, you end up with an ST without SFR. So this is not certifiable. I would say that well, I see the gap, but it sounded a little bit of bashing of security targets, and I would not subscribe to that.
Yeah, so maybe I can clarify a number of points there. So these are really worst case scenarios, let's say. So the vast majority of the certificates that I have seen are perfectly fine in terms of scope. So these are examples that I really had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, like, okay, how can I make an example so that the audience understands what the problem is without actually throwing a specific company under the bus. So yes, they're a bit contrived in that sense. But on the other hand, these are all scenarios that could happen. So even this scenario where you say, well, for a specific vendor that only uses these cameras in an offline scenario, without internet connectivity, that they want to have certified, say that this is being used in, I don't know, a prison or whatever, they might need to have it certified at a specific level. So yes, it would be a valid certificate, but if they then were to market this same certificate to the global audience with people that want to think, oh, I also want to use this for my Wi-Fi connected camera over the garage, then it's potentially misleading. But ITSEF or a CB cannot see that at the point of the certification. So this is also something that from the higher perspective we need to keep into account, that if we make it such that the scope can be shrunk down to a specific subset, then that also potentially leads to a misleading certificate later on. And I don't have really a solution for how to solve this, but it's something that we as an entire market need to keep in mind, that yeah, this kind of thing can happen and that we need to prevent this where possible.
Very quick response, Herr Hanke. I understand what you mean, but I take these examples as devil's advocate examples without a micro, because we are having lunch break now and I know that. So I appreciate these examples as devil's advocates examples, and there is no white and there is no black, there is gray, and I think there is a lot to talk about it, but not now because we have lunch break.
Exactly.
And just to highlight, I'm fairly sure in ancient history of CC that there was once an operating system that was certified in the environment of a locked room at the desktop, locked room with no connections to anything, and that got a certificate, and that was probably not very useful. Thank you, everybody. Lunchtime.